There's an argument to be made. We're in the golden age of the contemporary NHL. On today's edition, who's behind Connor McDavid for best center in the world?
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. I am Nick Zararis, the host of Locked On Oilers. That is my good friend and one of the co-hosts of Locked On Penguins, Hunter Hodies. And we want to thank everyone that is making Locked On NHL their first listen of the day. Locked On NHL is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we've got your teams covered every single day. Today's edition of Locked On NHL is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins for new FanDuel customers. So, Hunter, my friend, we wrap up our NHL positional ranking series today. The season is a week and a half, 2 weeks away from getting underway, and we've done this at a nice pace. We've done goalies, we've done defensemen, we've done wingers today. We wrap up with centers, the marquee position group, the most important position group. I would dare to say you need to have one of the guys on this list if you would like a chance to win a Stanley Cup, if not two, some would say, and we'll get the ball rolling. I cede the floor to you. Who's number 10?
Yeah, so I feel like on my list, the first 7, 8, 9 are pretty self-explanatory, but the last spot, Nick, I was kind of going back and forth between Robert Thomas, Sebastian Aho, Nico Hischier, because I don't think he gets enough love in the NHL. I did go with Sebastian Aho, though I do want him to be a bit more dynamic with his game, but still, he is one of the 10 best centers in the league. I think the problem for Carolina, Nick, is that they don't have enough big dogs to really go far. Like, yeah, they can win a round or two, but once you go up against a team with legit big dogs like the Florida Panthers, it's just hard for them to advance. Like, they need more than just Sebastian Aho. This past season, 29 goals, 74 points in 79 games. He's coming off a year before that where he basically had a 90-point season, 89 to be exact, but he was right around that 90-point mark. Great offensively. He also is good defensively in his own zone. He's like the straw that stirs the drink down in Carolina. So as long as they have him, they're going to have a shot, Nick. It's just about building around him. That's the biggest thing. So I want to see the Canes do that because they have, in my opinion, one of the 10 best centers in this league. It's that, can they get enough more big wingers who support him? And they tried it over the years, Nick. They tried getting Jake Guentzel. They tried getting Mikko Rantanen. Those didn't work out. Now you have Stankoven, and he looked like a great fit, by the way, coming back in the Mikko Rantanen trade. But if they can maybe get one more or also maybe one other big center, I think they could potentially really take off. But Aho is fantastic.
Yeah, for me, it came down to Rob Thomas and Sebastian Aho for that last spot as well. I thought Rob Thomas down the stretch last year was one of the best players in the entire NHL for the Blues, so I did want to shout him out before I got to Aho, who I have in the same spot. I have Aho at number 10. This is someone who has been consistently close to or over a point per game for much of his tenure. His elevation to being one of the league's best players has coincided with the Hurricanes in this prolonged stretch of regular season dominance under Rod Brind'Amour. To your point, if the supporting cast is just a smidge better, I think you could see it. And the thing about Aho, and I forget who I said this about on the wingers, I think it might have been Matthew Tkachuk, he's not elite at any one trait, but he's really good at pretty much everything. He's not blisteringly fast, but he's a good skater. He's not a Leon caliber playmaker, but he's a good passer. He's a pretty good shooter. And that really well-rounded toolbox fares well a lot of the time. The problem, as you alluded to, of course, being when you come up against a Sasha Barkov's just better. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. But Aho is a great player, unquestionably the best player on this Hurricanes team that is desperately looking to break through. And maybe Nick Ehlers is the guy. Maybe it's Nick Ehlers who's able to put them over the top as far as getting more out of Aho. But is a great player, somebody who quietly is putting together a really nice NHL career.
100%. And next up on my list, I would have this player a bit higher if he's just able to stay healthy, and that's Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils. when he is going, he is one of the most dynamic players in the league, especially his skating, Nick. I mean, good luck catching him when he's healthy and once he gets a burst of speed coming out of his own zone. He literally is a one-man zone entry. You just cannot get the puck off him once he skates into the offensive zone with control. Has a great release. The playmaking ability is absolutely stupendous. He only played 62 games this past season, 27 goals, 70 points in 62 games, but we've seen what his level can be when healthy. It was during the 22-23 season when the Devils had that really nice run. 43 goals, 99 points in 78 games. If he can stay healthy, I think the sky is the limit for him. I think he can really climb this list significantly. He didn't have a good Four Nations. I expect him to be better at the Olympics, but I think when he is going, Nick, he's one of the best game breakers in the entire NHL. So I have him at 9, but he has the opportunity to move up that list a little bit this year.
Oh, I think everybody we're going to talk about today, even Aho, has a Hart Trophy caliber season in them if everything breaks right. I think there is a world where if the Devils win 105, 107 standings points, they're first or second in the Metro. Jack Hughes has 105, 110 points. I think there's a world where Jack Hughes could win a Hart Trophy. I think that's certainly within play. As to your point, I have Jack Hughes in the same spot as well. I've had Jack Hughes as high as like the 12th best player in the entire league, let alone the position group, coming off of that season where they went to the second round. The skating is world class. He's right there with McDavid, with MacKinnon, with Kaprizov. I mean, the Devils' power play is Jack Hughes skating the offensive zone with the puck on his stick, waiting for plays to happen around him. He is that dynamic of a skater that their power play structure is whatever Jack Hughes wants it to be. He's just got to stay healthy. He's had the same shoulder get injured a couple times. He had that injury his second year in the league, which hampered what was becoming a breakout season. But this is one of the best players in the world and somebody who I'm very curious to see how he's used on Team USA. Him and Auston Matthews were effectively playing in a defensive role in the Four Nations, which I found interesting. And I thought the game USA won 2-1 against Canada, they did a really good job of being out there as effectively the matchup line against Nathan MacKinnon. And they did a good job of that the first time these two teams played. But Jack Hughes is somebody who you see the vision. He's just got to stay healthy, because when he's healthy, this guy is remarkable. He is, I would say, close to a one-of-one skill set, because at his size, to be as good as he is, he has to be that fast, and he is genuinely that fast.
Buddy, if he and Hischier can stay healthy on that Devils team, and if they can add maybe a little bit more around them, there's no reason that the Devils can't go pretty far in the playoffs. No, Hischier also has had injury problems to start his career too, Nick. And when he's going, he's one of the best two-way centers in the entire league. I was really considering him for one of these spots, but again, I just want him to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. So outside of Hughes, next up on my list, I have Brayden Point here at number 8. He may be small, 5'11". He doesn't play like it, buddy. That dude is a rat to a perfection, honestly. We all know, Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand. You could put Brayden Point right up there, too, in terms of being a rat. This past season, 42 goals, 82 points in 77 games. His best season, one of his best seasons came in 22-23 when he had a 95-point season, 51 goals. He is always a clutch playoff performer for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He does it all, Nick. 5-on-5. Power play. He's great in front of the net, has a strong release, big and huge moments. This is a perfect center for them. And he can also get in your face. He has that snarl. He's not afraid to, do stuff after the whistles. He does, again, Nick, he really does it all.
I love what Brayden Point brings. He's coming up in a second. The last person I have in the first segment is someone I know you have a little bit higher. I have Sid here. At this point in his career, Sid is going for style points. There's nothing else to accomplish. He has completed hockey. He can win another gold medal next year. I think that'll be the most compelling narrative around the Penguins going into the rest of this upcoming season. But Sid's effectively had 3 primes where you have that first phase of his career where he was the most dynamic player in the league, the middle 2010s where he evolved his game, became a bit more of a playmaker, a bit more strategic, and now where he's just the best grinder in the world, because he's the best. For my money, Sidney Crosby is the best player in the world at using his body to create space. When it comes to angling himself to create space for him and the puck, it's why his backhand is so effective, because he's able to angle himself in ways that basically other guys can't, or if they do, they just don't have the arm strength, the forearm strength that he does to be able to get that shot off. But what Sid's done at this point in his career, I mean, he's still a point per game player at 38. I mean, This is everything LeBron is doing in basketball in a hockey sense. And at this point, it sounds crazy to say, but there's a part of me that's just curious what Sid's career would have looked like if he never has the injuries. Like it's the same conversation we have about Mickey Mantle in baseball, where if his knees don't go, does Mantle chase down Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron? If Sid doesn't lose 2-3 years to concussions and lockouts and COVID, is he chasing down Gretzky? It's not the craziest conversation to have. And it's a shame we have to have it, because at this point, it's more about Sid than it is the Penguins, just because of where they are in their trajectory.
All I'll say is this. I have him coming up in just a little bit because I have a few stats that are going to blow some people away just because of how good he still is. He's not good defensively anymore. Hasn't been good defensively in the last few years, but the offense is still very much there. So he's coming up in a little bit.
Good tease, and we'll be right back after this break, making our way through the rest of our top 10s. The NFL season is underway, and there has never been a better time to get in on the action, because FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use on the FanDuel app. I love using FanDuel because it makes however you like to play easy. If you don't want to pick the game and you just want to look for player props, you got it. If you want to cook up a squad ride for a same game parlay, you got that. Or if you have a feeling as the game's unfolding, live action makes it happen. Tonight, important game in the early stages of the NFC West, the Seahawks going down to Arizona as 1.5 point favorites. Important game in the NFC, the Eagles and Bucks, who have both gotten off to really good starts. The Eagles 3.5 point favorites. Jackson Dart making his first NFL start for my Giants as 6.5 point home underdogs to the undefeated Chargers. And then loser leaves town. Ravens, Chiefs, both 1-2. The Ravens, 2.5 point favorites at Arrowhead with seasons maybe on the line. So FanDuel has one question. Are you ready? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thank you to everyone who is hanging out on this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL as we are making our way through the top 10 centers in the league. Hunter, my friend, back to you.
Number 7, I got Jack Eichel. This was the best season of his career this past season, Nick. 28 goals, 94 points in 77 games. It's his first 90-plus point season in the league. And he's also a game breaker. He's so dynamic with the puck coming up the ice. He's also one-man zone entry. But what also makes Eichel stand out a little bit higher than some of these other centers, it's the two-way play. He is one of the best two-way centers in the league. It's not Sasha Barkov level, and we're gonna get to him, at least for me, in a little bit, but he's right up there. I think if Barkov has maybe a little bit of a down season at one point, I 1,000,000% think Eichel can win a Selke. He finished top 5 this year in the Selke. That's the best finish of his career. He also finished top 5, by the way, for the Hart. He got 5th place for that as well. So again, the offense is there. The two-way play is there. He's going to be a top 6 center on the Olympic team, if I had to guess, for Team USA. He also does it all for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I remember when, some people were, I guess, low-key disappointed at him in times during the early stages of his career. But I always knew that he could play at this high of a level, especially offensively. I didn't know he was going to get this good defensively, Nick, in his own zone with the two-way play, but he was fantastic this past year, and I think he could potentially have a 100-plus point season this year now that he has Mitch Marner next to him on his line.
I'm very curious. I have Eichel coming up in a little bit. Next up for me, I have Brayden Point. I won't belabor much of what you said, but the thing I want to give credit for is being a project. He fell out of the first round because there were questions about his size and his skating, and the Lightning saw everything else and said, okay, we can make you a better skater. You have the skills, you have the ability. And the stat I will always cite is in the 2 Stanley Cup final runs where they won the cup, Point had 56 points in 46 games. He had 28 goals, 28 assists over the course of 2 playoff runs, and was instrumental in that team finally breaking through, getting over the hump. And of course, that Lightning team, every bit as loaded as the Panthers teams of the last couple of years, if not just on equal footing. And what makes Point so remarkable is that he was a project. He was somebody who understood the deficiencies in his game, who was brought along slowly through the Tampa Bay lineup, and eventually usurped everybody else other than Kucherov. You know, he came along slower than Cirelli. Stamkos was there. And Point, by virtue of elevating his game now, he's somebody who's going to have an argument to maybe end up in the Hockey Hall of Fame someday based on the career he's putting together. He's going to have a chance at 1,000 career points. He's going to have a chance at a couple gold medals with Canada. This is one of the best players in our game today, and I do think he gets overshadowed a little bit by playing with Nikita Kucherov, but Brayden Point is every bit as important to the Lightning and their potential success as Kucherov is.
100%. Again, those two together, especially Point, are tremendous. Next up for me, might be a little bit of a hot take to some. I have Sasha Barkov here at number 6. I think everyone can guess who I have next after that. It's going to be a hot take, I'm sure. But I have Sasha Barkov here at number 6. This is the best two-way center in the NHL. He's won back-to-back Selke trophies. I think at this point, Nick, it was the Patrice Bergeron Award for a while.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the Sasha Barkov Award for quite a while as well, unless, as I potentially hinted at, unless he has a down year at some point, but I'm not sure he's going to, considering the level that he is playing at right now. This past season, once again, a point per game, 71 points in 67 games. He's been a point per game player throughout his entire career. He's been absolutely ridiculous for the Panthers in the last 2 playoff runs to the Stanley Cup. Literally right around a point per game, 14 goals in those 2 playoff runs and 44 total points in those playoff runs. And he has that elite ability to shut down the opposing team's best player. He was making life a living hell for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in those back-to-back cup runs. Even before that, against Carolina, for example, he was making life a living hell. Any team they played, also the Tampa Bay Lightning, Nick, the way that they were able to just stifle them and stymie them, it's led by Sasha Barkov. He was doing such a great job of shutting down the elite opposing players that the Panthers play against in the playoffs. And there's nothing like it in today's NHL. He is ridiculous. And if it weren't for Sid just being crazy these last 3 years, I would have him number 5. And you could easily argue him as high as 4, 5. I think the top 3 to 4 for me are just a bit above him. But Barkov is one of one, at least in terms of two-way centers.
Oh, for sure. Barkov's coming up on my list. I ended up with Barkov on my fantasy team, which I'm very happy about. And there's a part of me that selfishly would like to see Barkov just focus on offense because I want to see how good he could be. Like, there's a world where Barkov's just like 105-point power forward center. Because like him and Huberdeau, when the Panthers were a bit more of a running gun team, Barkov was good at that too. He was great at defense while still playing at a really high tempo. And there's a selfish part of me that wants to see how dynamic and explosive Barkov could be. But to your point, and I'm going to get to Barkov a little bit on mine, I have Jack Eichel here. And the point I wanted to make on Jack Eichel is that when we got to the second round of the playoffs where it was Vegas and the Oilers, the thing that was remarkable to me about Eichel was he was hard matched against McDavid and holding his own, and it takes a lot to look comfortably defensively against the Oilers, especially against McDavid when they're rolling him with Hyman and Draisaitl. But Eichel has the toolbox at his size, 6'2", 6'3". He's got the long reach. He's a very underrated skater. He's not necessarily as dynamic a skater as maybe a Jack Hughes or a McDavid, but his stride is really strong and really powerful. He gets a really good push off, and it's what makes him explosive in a straight line. And his toolbox is really interesting because the glimmers have been there of this caliber of player, even dating back to the time in Buffalo where he was desperate to get out of there. And there was never going to be a world where the Sabres were going to come away from that trade looking good. But now, especially knowing that we're doubting modern medicine, which is crazy to do at this point, of course Jack Eichel was going to work out in Vegas. I mean, the most obvious thing imaginable, this was going to work out well. I'm fascinated to see what the pecking order ends up being at the Olympics next year, if Eichel ends up getting the hard matchups, if they try and do what they did with Auston Matthews and Jack Hughes, or if they try and use Dylan Larkin in that role. But Eichel has the goods to be able to do that too.
100%. Now, next up for me, number 5, it's Sid. I still have him as a top 5 center in the NHL. Might be a hot take to some. Whatever. Sid is still that dude. I'm not going to put him above, Leon, Austin, Connor, and some of these other guys. But let me just give you this, Nick. His age 35 to 37 seasons, 93, 94, and 91 points. And I think before this past season, he would have had over 100 points if the Penguins power play had been league average. That's the crazy thing. He now has, for every season of his career, he's been over a point per game. That is an NHL record, 20 point per game seasons. No one else has that. He's also going to keep climbing the list in terms of the NHL's all-time points list. I think by the end of his career, he's probably going to be right around number 5, I think, at least in my opinion. But this is still someone, to me, he may not be good defensively anymore. I think, 2016, 2017, that was the peak of when he was really good defensively, but he was never going to win the Selke just because he was still very much known for his offense. That part of his game, the defense has left, but he is still elite offensively in this league. Good luck getting the puck off his stick once he is in the offensive zone. Behind the net, he is still a freak. That is his office. The playmaking ability is still disgusting. He still has one of the best backhands in the entire sport. Once you give him opportunity to let that fly in the offensive zone, good luck, because he is going to probably roof it more times than he won't. He is still fantastic, and he's 38 right now. I expect him to have another very good season. Who's to say he doesn't have another 90-plus point year in him? He's taking it, I guess, personally these last 3 years because the Penguins have missed the playoffs 3 years in a row. I don't expect that to change this year, but Sid is going to try to do everything in his power to prove everyone wrong again. I very much have my doubts. I don't think the Penguins are going to be very good, but Sid is still that guy, man. He really is.
So the last person I have here, and this might shock you, I have him this low coming off of last year, but I have Auston Matthews at 5. The thing I want to see with Matthews is the health. He's constantly got nagging injuries. It's been the wrist. It's been the shoulder. No one's doubting his ability, but he needs to stay healthy. And now without Marner there, his workload is going to be a little more challenging. The responsibility is going to be a little bit heavier to carry a line a little bit more. And for Auston Matthews to get where we think he can be, and I think Auston Matthews is well on his way to being one of the best American hockey players of all time. If anybody is going to have a chance of running down Ovechkin someday, this is probably the guy. And that starts now. And he's been great since he got to the league. We all remember the debut game with the hat trick where he announced himself very prominently, and he's gotten better. The two-way game has definitely gotten better, especially under Sheldon Keefe where he took a step. Now for me, I want to see the playoff stuff. I want to see, can he elevate his game? He looked the part in the Four Nations. He looked like he belonged out there, which is a good sign. I just want to see it on one of those big stages. I want to see him at the Olympics go crazy. I want to see him win a playoff series the way Mikko Rantanen did. That's what I want to see from Auston Matthews. And then the only reason the guys I have ahead of him I do are because these are the guys who keep showing up in the big games, the Barkovs of the world, the Draisaitls. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We're going to take our second and final break. When we come back, we'll round out our top 10s and a whole lot more conversation. Thank you to everyone who is hanging out on this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. As my stuffy nose makes my voice a little bit more hoarse than usual. Hunter, who's number 4?
Auston Matthews. I'm not going to really add too much, but I have him up here mainly because of the goal scoring ability. But as you mentioned, the two-way play has gotten better throughout his career. I know this past year, Nick, he played 67 games, 78 points during that time, only 33 goals, but he's still only 2 years removed from a 69-goal season and 107 points. If he keeps up this type of production, if he can stay healthy, I do think he'll have an opportunity to A, chase down Ovechkin, and B, especially if he gets a Stanley Cup, he could potentially be the best American-born player ever. I know that sounds weird to say because right now I would say that's Patrick Kane, but Matthews has that in him if he's able to bring home a cup to Toronto and keep up that level of production that we saw a couple of seasons ago when he almost had a near 70-goal season. Again, it's just the big thing. The health. He's got to stay healthy because when he is on, even though Ovechkin is a complete cyborg and Pasternak is also up there in terms of goal scoring ability, when all of them are healthy at this stage of their careers, I don't think there is a better goal scorer in the league than Auston Matthews. He just has that elite ability to find the back of the net no matter where he is on the ice. And, I'm excited to see what he does at the Olympics this upcoming year. He still needs to show up a little bit more in the playoffs. I want to see what else the Leafs do to maybe surround him just because they lost Mitch Marner. But he is fantastic. And again, I really think he has even more to give. Even though he had that 69-goal season, Nick, I think he has even more to give. So I have him here at number 4.
Auston Matthews has 401 goals in 627 career games. He's going to have a chance.
Yes.
He is going to have a chance when all said and done.
He has more 50 goals, 60 goal seasons, which he definitely has in him if he stays healthy.
Oh, for sure. Especially with where the NHL's going style-wise, where unless we get a hard regression, which is possible, where, either the goalies get better or the tactics change a little bit to kind of make defense better. But he's going to have a chance to run down Ovechkin. It's not going to be easy. He's going to have to play till he's 40, but he'll have a chance to get there. Number 4 for me, I have Sasha Barkov. This is the best two-way center in the game. This is somebody who, for 2 straight playoffs, has matched up against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and done the part. This is somebody who can have 100-point seasons if he wants to, but doesn't need to because of what he's asked to do. I love watching Barkov play. I've likened him at this phase of his career to what Kawhi was towards the first year or two he got to the Raptors, where he was the best perimeter player in the world, but if you needed him to go and get a bucket, he'd go and do that too. And what makes Barkov so frustrating is the subtle greatness. It's how easy he makes it look. There's a specific sequence that comes to mind from the conference finals 2 years ago against the Rangers, where he, on the power play, he has his back to the net and he receives a pass at his feet. And instead of moving his body to try and get his stick blade there, he simply angled his skate inward, redirects the puck off his skate blade to Sam Reinhart, who rips a power play goal. There are maybe 5 guys in the world who have the foresight to be able to do that as opposed to moving their bodies. And Barkov is he's so subtle about his greatness. And it's just like Bergeron, where nothing jumps off the screen but he's in the right place every single time. He is always in the right place.
And the way that he can just take the puck away from you at any moment's notice is also, again, such an elite level. It really does remind me so much of Patrice Bergeron. And unless he has another down year, this is his award to lose the Selke, that is, once again. Number 3, I have Leon Draisaitl here. Nick, this guy has 6 100-plus point seasons in his last 7 years in the entire NHL. This dude is absolutely ridiculous. One, if I had to say right now, when you're looking at, the 5 to 7 best players, he's easily in there, and I don't think you can argue otherwise, especially when you look at his production. This past postseason, he was doing everything in his power to will the Oilers to that Stanley Cup.
3 overtime game-winning goals in one playoff run.
He was amazing last year. He was that much better.
And he was on one leg. He was on one arm last year. He was dealing with that wrist injury. It's why he didn't score in the Stanley Cup final. He was playing with a broken wrist.
He still had 10 goals and 31 points last year. This past year, he has 33 points in 22 games. Again, he was better this year, especially when you factor in the clutch moments. He has that versatility too. You can put him at center, but when the Oilers are really trailing, and I'm talking like multiple goals, Knobloch will have no problem be like, hey, I'm going to combine you with Connor McDavid, and I'm going to double shift you guys, and you guys might be tired after the game, but I kind of have no choice. And they've shown an ability to do that at an elite level. But Leon, man, he's such a tough power forward to defend against because he can do it all. He can skate through with control. He's also one-man zone entry. He has a great release. He has elite vision, especially on the power play when he's trying to set up players for chances. Connor McDavid, we'll get to him in just a second because the skating is just world class. Leon, the skating may not be at that level, Nick, but it's still at a really high level where it's like you shouldn't be able to do the things with the puck that you do, especially also for your size. So he is ridiculous. I cannot wait to see him at the Olympics. This is going to be awesome just because we have more countries playing and it's not just the 4 nations face off. But Leon, man, one of the best 5 to 7 players in the sport. Elite on the power play, elite at 5-on-5. He can carry his own line. I remember, Nick, when there were talks like, oh, I don't know if he can carry his own line away from McDavid. Yeah, that talk got cool pretty quickly early on in his career. He is one of the 3 best centers in the league.
So I have 2 things on Leon. I have Leon 3 for me as well. He spent the majority of his season last year playing with Vasily Podkolzin and Kasperi Kapanen, and he was a Hart Trophy candidate. He was finished second, I think, behind Connor Hellebuck. And then the other thing, and I've said this more than once, he's a better passer than he is a goal scorer, but he can still score 60 goals if he wants to. And there just aren't guys who are like this because the skill set, the size, the skating, the playmaking. So since 2016, 2017, the first full year McDavid plays because he broke his collarbone his rookie year, McDavid has the most points in the NHL since then. Leon's 2. Leon has 896 points. The next closest person is Nathan MacKinnon, who's second on my list, who's about 30 points behind Leon. Draisaitl is about 100-something points behind McDavid. This is one of the great players we will ever see. He's going to have an argument as the best European-born hockey player of all time when he retires. If you want to include Russia in there as part of being Europe, we can have a conversation about that. But this is one of the best players we've ever seen. And him and McDavid alone that's enough to get you in the playoffs most years. It's simply a matter of, can they give these guys enough as a supporting cast? And then we both have MacKinnon and McDavid 2-1. So I'll let you talk a little bit about MacKinnon, and then we could both go on McDavid.
McDavid is what it looks like. MacKinnon is a very mini version of that. Yeah. He is also very much what it looks like at the end of the day, Nick. He had a 140-point season in 23-24. This past season, he had a 116-point season. The playmaking and the vision on the ice, it's elite. The plays that he can make with the puck don't seem fair. But again, we're going to talk about McDavid in just a second, where it's at an even higher level, which is crazy because MacKinnon, I think, is a top 3 player in the entire world. His release is also ridiculous. I think when you look at centers, Nick, because a lot of these guys are so good with their vision and their playmaking. I think MacKinnon has one of the most underrated releases among all centers in the entire NHL. That the puck, it explodes off the stick every time he's in the offensive zone. And I remember, man, early on in his career, like his first,
it took a while.
People were like, I don't know if he's ever going to reach this level. Like, is he going to get to that elite level? Literally, right as people were saying that, Nick, he goes out there, has a 97-point year in 17-18, and people are like, okay, it took a few years, but we were able to see that, yeah, he has the ability to be an elite center in the NHL. You give the Avalanche power plays, he's going to make you pay every single time. You give him a lot of zone time at 5-on-5, he's going to make you pay every single time. The skating is breathtaking. We're going to get to McDavid in just a second. The skating, though, is just out of this world. Once you get him ahead of steam, good luck getting the puck off of his stick. I could watch Nathan MacKinnon play forever.
I think about the Pietrangelo clip at the outdoor game where he looked up and saw MacKinnon skating at him full speed, and he just said, "Oh boy, there's nothing else you can do." He's 6'3". He skates just as well as McDavid. He's got the wicked release. He's a mean SOB who will clock you if you get in his way. He is. Other than Sid, I would say he's the most intense player in the game. He's got that Michael Jordan craziness to him, that singular dedication, that drivenness. And I think something that really opened my eyes a little bit about MacKinnon was at the Four Nations, was actually seeing him express a little bit of emotion, like some genuine, like, oh, wow, he can be happy. He can be friendly. Like, I think about that picture after they won the game of him hugging McDavid and picking McDavid up off of the ground like he was hugging a child. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. He's a Terminator cyborg hockey player, but he's also just a guy from Nova Scotia who grew up loving hockey. And he is terrifying. And real quick on McDavid, I mean, all he's missing is the cup. You get him the cup. We're already talking about one of the 10 best players to ever play the game, period. All it is at this point is resume stuff. He could get more Harts. He could get more Richards. He could get more Art Rosses. He could win another Conn Smythe as a loser, something we probably won't see for another 15, 20 years. This is the best hockey player I've ever seen. At this point, it's resume. Can he get a gold medal or 2 or 3? Can he try? He'll get all the Oiler records. Like, if he stays with Edmonton, he'll break all of Gretzky's Oiler team records. He'll have a chance at, 1,300, 1,400 points. He's going to break 1,100 points this year. He needs 110 points, and he'll hit 1,100 for his career. Other guys who can hit 1,100 points this year are John Tavares, Stamkos, and Giroux. Just to give you perspective, like, McDavid got to the league 5 to 6 years after those guys, right, and he's in the same cohort as far as all-time points. This is the most remarkable player. And real quick, something I wanted to get in. There was that Penguins-Oilers game in the regular season this past year where you came on Locked On Oilers, and the Penguins got out to like a 4-0 lead, and we were texting during the game, this isn't over. And ultimately, the Penguins won like 6-4, but it wasn't comforting. It wasn't easy. You get McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Bouchard out there every 3 shifts for a period and a half. Really crazy things can happen. Ask the LA Kings.
One of my buddies once texted me. He said, how big of a lead does another team have to have on the Oilers for you to turn off the game? I think I said 5 goals. I don't think they can come back from 5 down. If they could, 1 out of 10 times, okay, you could say 6, but I would probably go 5 goals. 4, they are still very much in the game. 5, I think it's a lot. Usually, though, whenever they're down and they're not getting blown out, you have to keep watching because they can come back at a moment's notice. McDavid is what it looks like, man. He's the fastest player in the league. Once he gets ahead of his team as well, good luck. Like I would see him coming into the offensive zone against the Penguins multiple times last year and when they played. And I'd be like, good luck. Like, you are not going to stop him once he has the puck, the way that he protects it and the way that he can set up chances that literally just come out of nowhere. He is a freak of nature. That's what it really comes down to. I think by the end of his career, if he keeps up this production, I think he will have an ability, Nick, to honestly finish top 10 all time in NHL scoring. Like, you look where Sid is, Nick, and I think by the end of his career, I think he can be top 5 in points. With where McDavid is right now, he's going to hit 1,100 this year. He keeps producing like this, and even into his late 30s, he could potentially climb into what, 5th all time, maybe, past Sid at that point. He already is top 10 all time to me right now in terms of best players ever. I will say this. If he gets multiple cups or even just one, he will have an argument to pass Sid. I don't think he is at that point right now. I will still have Sid as a top 5 player until that happens. But, the contract situation is going to be fascinating, man. He's really taking his time with this. Nick, just to end the show, do you think he resigns or does he walk?
I think he signs a 2 or 3 year deal, and then I think it's a lot more likely he leaves because the team 2 or 3 years from now, there's just a lot of uncertainty of what that roster is going to look like. They're going to need 2 new goalies after this year. Ekholm and Wallman are free agents after this year. Henrique is a free agent after this year. There's just a lot of roster uncertainty going forward, and I think the comfort matters for him, but at the same time, if he really wants to win, it's probably not going to be with the Oilers just by virtue of where they are with the roster around them. Now, weirder things have happened. They could luck their way into something crazy. Maybe Howard or Savoie pops. Maybe they make a big trade. But I think for at least 2 or 3 more years, McDavid will be an Oiler, and we'll revisit this conversation a couple years from now.
That's fair. I didn't think it was going to drag into almost October.
Neither did I.
At this point, I thought he would already sign, but again, it looks like he's really giving this a lot of thought. He wants to make sure that this team is set up for long-term success. We'll have to see. But again, he's number 1 on my list. Until someone takes him down, he's going to be number 1 on this list for a while. So again,
maybe Gavin McKinnon as a Penguin 3 years from now. We could have the conversation.
Hey man, when the Penguins win the lottery this year, I'm going to drink everyone's tears.
All right, everyone. That'll do it for this week's edition of Locked On NHL. Next week, we get to talk about actual hockey because we'll be like 4 days away from the start of the season. We have survived the summer. We will talk to you guys next Thursday. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave the show a 5-star review over on Apple or Spotify. Subscribe if you're over on YouTube. Thank you to everyone that made Locked On NHL their first listen of the day. We'll see you guys next week.